Hi, everyone. Welcome to this new episode of our Student Spotlight series, where we're able to showcase some of the work that our past students have been doing. I'm Charlotte. I'm one of the outreach coordinators here at CCIR, and it's our pleasure today to have with us Suraga. Why don't you introduce yourself? So tell us a little bit about where you're from, how old you are, what grade you're in.
Okay, I'm Suraga. I'm from California, and I'm in ninth grade at Leland High School, and I am 14.
And can you tell us which course you did? So Suraga did one of our Future Scholars Program courses. So can you tell us the course that you did, the mentor that taught the course, and kind of a little bit about what it was about?
We learned about the astrophysics of black holes, white dwarfs, and neutron stars. So it was by Professor Alexander Mushtikov, and we had a TA, Vadim. So we learned a lot about astrophysics in general, and we also covered some topics of quantum physics. And then we went more in depth about black holes, neutron stars, and white dwarfs specifically. We talked about the kinds and what happens. Like we talked about all the different processes that happen in those specific celestial objects. And then we also talked about different aspects of quantum physics, because in these sorts of celestial objects, we can observe these quantum physics topics.
And can you tell us kind of what interested you in this topic, and did you have any experience with it before, or was this course kind of your first formal introduction?
Well, I hadn't taken any sort of course on this before, but I have known a little bit about the subject. So it's really interesting because we're learning about objects that are so far away, that are so unlike anything we have here on Earth. Like it's so new and so intriguing, which is why I really wanted to go to that course.
And can you tell us a little bit about the research that you did? So what the title of your project was, kind of what interested you about it, and maybe talk a little bit about kind of the methods and how the mentor helped you shape your project.
Yeah. So my project was called Calculating the Trajectory of Photons around black holes and neutron stars. So this one was really interesting because it combined different aspects of what we were learning about. So like learning about particles like photons, and also about neutron stars and black holes. So that kind of all combined. And one other thing that was really interesting about this is that, like with astrophysics, it's really hard to run experiments because like these objects are so far away. We have to make theories based on what we already know. We have to use what we have to create more. I thought that was a really interesting thing to do. So when I selected that program, the professor emailed me. He was like, hey, this is a hard project. So like he helped me start the project. So using different formulas, we basically built Python programs that would calculate the trajectory if you put in initial coordinates and initial direction. So we started out doing photon trajectories around black holes. Then we moved on to neutrino trajectories. So we did that around neutron stars. And then we also did neutrino trajectories through neutron stars. So it was really interesting learning and figuring out how to change my code, because the basic code pretty much stayed the same. You just have to add certain characteristics to adjust for each type of thing.
And you mentioned that you did some coding in your project. Have you had experience with that before, or kind of what was it like doing coding for this project?
So before this, I've used Python programming before, but never something like this. I've really only used it to make little games and interactive things. So I pretty much had to figure out how to program Python in that way. And I thought that was really fun because it's such a useful tool. I never thought that I could use coding for this sort of science before, but it was really interesting to see how I could use my prior knowledge and learn new things to make this program a reality.
And for kind of people that aren't very familiar with the field, do you think that you found anything particularly interesting from your research, or things that might be kind of generalizable or important for the field as a whole?
The field is like really big and complicated. So I guess what I've done through my project really furthers some theories that my professor and TA were talking about before. So basically, like how neutrinos and photons are affected by the gravity of neutron stars and black holes, and how the trajectory changes, like based on the size of the neutron star, like like the amount, like the size of the black holes as well, and how initial directions change what the trajectories look like.
And my last question, kind of about your research process. Was this your first time doing a kind of research project like this, and of this caliber? And what was did you like research as a whole? Did it kind of shape kind of what you want to do in the future in terms of maybe pursuing a career in research or pursuing a career within this topic?
Yeah. So I really like the whole research process that we did, because before this, I've done some small scale experiments before, but I haven't ever done anything on astrophysics because I had no idea how to even go about doing like projects when it comes to astrophysics, because there's nothing solid for me to experiment on. So I really enjoyed learning how to actually discover more in that field, because I've always been very interested in astrophysics and quantum physics, but I didn't know if it was a viable option for me to pursue because I really had no idea how to do projects on it. So through this program, I learned how to actually be able to pursue my interests in astrophysics. And now I feel that going into astrophysics as a field is more of a viable option.
That's really cool. I think that the one cool thing about our different courses, and especially with your course where it's something that's so niche, that very, very often is not offered within the regular high school curriculum. So it gives you kind of a taste of what to expect so that you can really solidify whether it's something that you want to pursue, which is very cool. And then we're going to shift a little bit into talking about your kind of general experience with CCIR and with doing this program. My first question is, given that our Future Scholars Program courses are group courses, so can you tell us a little bit about what your experience was being able to meet other students that had kind of the same interests as you, and learn from them and where they came from and all of that?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. So, like, we could make group chats and talk about the material. And it was really refreshing, like, seeing people with the same interests as me, because I don't see many people interested in astrophysics in my high school because it's not taught anywhere. So it was nice talking to people with the same interests as me. There are a couple seniors there, and it was so interesting hearing them talk about like how they're going to actually go into astrophysics in college. So I thought like, hey, I could do that. And it was really nice getting to know them and getting to see how they pursue their interests.
Yeah, it is. And you said you were a freshman, right?
Yeah.
That's very cool to be able to kind of see, in a few years what it might look like for you. And especially also to be able to do the program kind of at such a young age. It really gives you a kind of a step up, I think. And then I know we mentioned not having a course like this in your high school. Can you talk a little bit about both the learning experience? So maybe, what it was like having a TA, because that's obviously not something that is available in high schools. And then also kind of what your experience was doing a research project like this and how you think that helped you grow as a learner.
Yeah, it was really great. I really liked how it was set up. So we would have a lecture by the professor on one day, and then we would have practice problems to do, and then we would go over them the next day with the TA. I thought that was really great because you listen to the lecture and you're like, okay, I think I understand this. Then you get the practice problems, and then you have to actually like apply that knowledge, because if you just like listen to a lecture, you don't know if you actually understand it to that extent or not. But with the practice problems, you can actually tell if you understand. And then with the TA, if you need help, we just go over it. So we get an even deeper understanding of the material. So I really liked how that was set up. And I liked how both the professor and the TA were really open to questions. Like when I asked a question, they would actually explain it until I understood it. So I found that that was really helpful to me, because if I just like listen to a lecture online, I can't ask any questions and I can't have the actual professor interact with me. So I really liked how we were able to interact and how open they were to questions. I think this was just a great learning experience overall, because I know so much more about the subject now, and I feel like I actually understand it. So that was really helpful.
And then did you, I don't think you mentioned, did you have any experience with the publishing process? Were you trying to publish your research?
I actually have published a research paper prior to this program.
Okay.
Yeah, so this
With
is
the paper that you did for this program, were you hoping to publish?
I am hoping to publish, but I still need to finish a couple things in my project itself before I can move on to the paper.
Okay. And did you have any experience with our publication team? Did they help you at all kind of think about the publishing process?
Well, where we are in our projects right now is we're still kind of finishing up the actual research process. Like there are a couple things I want to research further, because like I ran into some interesting things in my project and I want to go into that a little bit more before I think about publishing.
That makes sense. And I'm sure you already know this, but just to mention for anyone watching, our publication team is available to our students even after they've finished the program, because as you mentioned, usually the publication process only starts once you finish the program, because it starts kind of with the end of your research paper. So that resource is available to our students, after the program and basically all throughout the publishing process until they publish. So to talk about kind of you mentioned this a little bit before, but has this course or this program as a whole given you any insights into your future? Do you think it's kind of shaped your path moving forward at all?
Yeah, so in TA sessions, we had some time where we just asked the TA questions, not on the subject itself, but about like how to pursue that. So I found that really, really helpful, because he was talking about like how you go to a PhD and then you can become a professor and like pursue your own independent research. So before this, I really had no idea how I would actually go into a career where I could do research on astrophysics. So hearing him talk about that and hearing him talk about how that's what he's pursuing made me feel like, oh, that's something I can do. So now I have a much clearer insight on what my future could be like.
Nice. And then my last question for you, if you were, let's say, chatting to a student, another high school student who was considering doing a project or a program like this, do you have any advice that you would give them, or kind of what would you say if they asked you about the value of doing a program like this?
Yeah, so firstly, it's that interactivity I was talking about, you can actually talk to the professor who knows like so much on this subject, and you can get so much nuanced information on that. And secondly, it's not just information on that topic. You can also get information on like how this career is going to work and how to publish a paper, how to research, how to code, all of this stuff you can get from this program. I thought that was really awesome. So
Nice. I think that's a really great insight. So thanks so much for chatting with me, and congrats again on your nomination to our Spotlight series.